Honeybees have a pretty big role. Not only do we collect delicious honey from them, they also carry pollen and seeds from one flower to another. Their role in cross-pollination helps at least 30% of the world's crops and 90% of wild plants. Honey collecting is actually a pretty old practice. Honey gatherers were even painted in cave paintings estimated to be around 8,000 years old. This painting from the La Arana caves in Spain depicts a person braving the cliffs to collect honey from wild bees. The ancient Egyptians were among the first to raise honeybees, and the animals were thought as creatures who transformed the sun's rays into golden sweetness. In the ancient Near East and Aegean cultures, it was believed that these insects were sacred and that they bridged the natural world to the underworld. And the list goes on. It's pretty clear. Humans and bees are in a pretty serious long-term relationship here. However, in the spring of 2013, we were bombarded with a number of articles telling us about the disappearance of bees. Bees were suddenly dropping off the face of the earth. Bees were disappearing, masses of dead bees were found. In the 6 years leading up to 2013, 10 million beehives were lost to colony collapse disorder. According to the Agriculture and Consumer Protection Department of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the global crops that are pollinated by bees are estimated to be $200 billion in 2005. Pesticides, habitat destruction, global warming, even parasites have all been considered culprits. Matthew Brandt is a photographer who lives and works in Los Angeles, California. Around the time that these headlines started showing up, he created a series called Honeybees. The artist found hundreds of dead and ailing honeybees along the California shoreline. Instead of photographing them there, the artist collected the bees and photographed them in his studio. Using a 19th century printing process called gum bichromate, Brandt made the prints from an emulsion of the bees themselves rather than colored pigments. These photographs, which both depict and contain bees in itself, are of a somber tone. Filled with death and loss, they're evidence of a changing world, capturing a crisis of both species. Agatha Dyke is a Canadian mixed media artist whose work is interested in environmental issues. Despite being diagnosed with a bee allergy, her studio is the apiary, or bee yard. Dressed in sealed beekeeping attire, she calls her work a collaborative process with the bees. She places sculptures with honeycombs in the bees' space, allowing them to remove and add as they see fit. With a deep understanding of the delicate nature existing between the bees and humans, she creates work that neither party could have created individually. Ren Ri is a Beijing-based artist and beekeeper whose work manipulates the movement and behavior of bees. He constructs encapsulated sculptures by first building transparent polyhedrons and cubes. Inside, he places a network of wooden dowels, and in the center he places the queen bee before introducing the rest of the hive. Every 7th day he rotates the hive based on the roll of a die, which he says references the biblical concept of creation. The human intervention adds an element of randomness, but also changes the effect of gravity and the bee's building behavior. Renri says the duality of interactions between the human body and the bees is not simply the physical sense. More importantly, it hints at an interrelated force and its counterforce. Wolfgang Leib is a German artist who is dubbed the honeybee of the international art world by the New York Times. Influenced by Taoist teachings and the modern art of Brancusi, Leib is well known for his use of large quantities of yellow pollen, which he collects around his home in southern Germany during the spring and summer months. Working with the natural seasons and the order in which plants bloom, slowly and deliberately he harvests the pollen on each tree or flower when they bloom. On a stone or concrete floor, he sifts a vibrant carpet of pollen, the size depending on the abundance of pollen he collects. For Leib, rather than the artwork being the pollen itself, it's the practice of painstakingly collecting and displaying the pollen. So that's it for this week's 5 and 5, all about honeybees. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any more you want to share, be sure to leave them in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.